Ready to go live. I wanted to come back and talk about what is the Fourth Amendment and what does it mean today in today's terms. And so as you can see that the Fourth Amendment was a part of the Bill of Rights. It was added to the Constitution December 15th, 1791. It protects people from unlawful seizures. That means the police cannot come into your home without a warrant for probable cause. So how does that affect us today when we're on the internet and we are sharing information and understanding the ability that someone has to shut you off basically when you're in live stream, and also they have the ability to edit your videos from the web and edit them on a device. I mean, when you pay for a space somewhere, that you assume that when you're paying for that space, it's going to be saved there. But guess what? When you go back there, there's nothing. Imagine that. It's a service that they really don't offer because they really can't protect you from network administrators or the administrator of your system. You think that you're an administrator, but you're really not. You're a local administrator, which means that you have less rights than an enterprise server or a network administrator, because they really do exist, and they really do control. And I really do understand how to stay engaged and how I'm in this battle and how we all are in the war. The war is going to be, I mean, it's already started. Simply, it's just already started. I can't mention certain songs or put them in between a video when I'm talking because it's not about the song. It really is about, the message. And then if I put Old Town Road in there with Nipsey Hussle and Lil Nas X, you need to listen to that song. If I put a song by R. Kelly in the song called Planet, you need to listen to that song. There's another song out there Nipsey Hussle has. And, he's gone. But he was talking about what we need to do as a people. And as African Americans or Black Americans, or we are just the people. Hell, as the people in America, I believe that we have a personal responsibility to engage in the public process. And what does that look like? Public process looks like having this conversation right here, we the people, because I believe that I am one of the people. And so really, when we get online, we can talk about whatever we want. As long as we don't slander anyone, as long as we're not violating anyone, and we're not personally attacking anyone. We have a personal responsibility to step up the game. Understand that public schools are the harvest. The harvest is the continuation of the plantation. And the plantation is America. Wow. The plantation is America. So what does the plantation look like? Let me tell you what the plantation looks like. It looks like you and me, and I had children. I had about 3. And if you had more, 4, or if you had less, 2 or 1, if you had 1 child, you participated in the plantation and the harvest, because that's 12 years of public services. 12 years of public services where we, the people, do not have the ability to participate in the oversight process. Of course we do. We do have the ability, but somehow we missed the boat. I know I missed it for a long time, but then I had children. And I didn't have children early. I had my first one, I think, at 28, and my last one at 38. And so by the time I got to 38, I really knew that there was a place for me to be to ensure that my children got through the system. But there are so many people out there that accept letter grades of failure. Just think about that. And then we don't have to ask the question as to why we see 8-year-olds committing suicide. Because we, the people, don't do what we, the people, should do. We, the people, is a pimp game. America is a pimp game. I mean, if you don't understand that you have health services and you get a little gift certificate for doing this physical and a little gift certificate for doing this physical, but you're not participating in deciding what, who will be benefiting from the gift certificate you get. You're not in that oversight process. There's just so many things that happen in America that you don't even understand. You don't understand that we depend on third-party providers for the public school system to educate our children. That's a partnership. That's contracting. It's called contracting. But understand that that is what a governing board does. Provides contract services for the community to sustain an educational process for all children. But this Fourth Amendment thing that we need to really pay attention to right now. Understand that you could be in a public place and taking a public video of an incident that may be real. It may incriminate somebody and not you. But understand that when I was leaving Sacramento, they were talking about filing charges of people against people who were videotaping incidents. And understand what they can do. They get to alter your device and your day. So if you were somewhere and recording a meeting, all of a sudden that part was edited out. That's why I said if I put a video in, I put a song in my stream. I'm not violating copyright. I'm not trying to violate copyright. I'm trying to share the message of the song. I'm trying to help promote the artist. That's what I was trying to do. But really, I was trying to share the message because the artist had a message. And the message was that we need to wake up as a people. When will we wake up? When will we understand that we are the harvest? Bing, 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 human capital. And what does human capital look like in America? Well, we all have cell phone bills. We all have houses. We all have us. We got to have somewhere to eat and shower and shave, as they call it. And everybody has a bill that they got to pay. And then you can't wait to kick your kids out so they can have the same bills as you have. And then, it's just everybody has to pay for the same thing, duplicated services. But some people who understand the game, well, they have those big old huge mansions and they keep all their children with them and they just operate like a team. But there is no team in the Black community. I've been looking for the team for a long time and it doesn't exist. So I figured that this is an urgent crisis time. We're in crisis because we have a president who's willing to support big business. Let's put it like that. So he's going to put all of the money generated in public education and take all of the restrictions off and put it in one pot called the general fund. And then say, of course, the requirements for the fund money still are there. But if they never had the ability to meet those basic requirements in the first place, putting all that money in one pot is going to supposed to be ensure that more services happen for people like us? No, baby, it don't work like that. It works like this. You force yourself to get up and look at something that's on the net because that's where your free access is, and educate yourself so that we can start all participating in sharing our concerns of the failed public services. Why should people have the ability to come to work every day and not even ensure that 95% of their children are making progress? How is it that children stay in school for 12 years or more and then end up in the 12th grade with 25 credits? And then not only 25 credits, man, my son's on, with not only 25 credits, but to get in some kind of altercation in your 12th grade and then have someone take you directly to jail because you don't understand that the word F in you will get you a felony charge against an administrator in the public school system or a teacher in the public school system. All they have to do is say, I'm afraid. I'm afraid for my life. You understand? And I guess there would be a reason to be afraid for your life, especially when we're dealing with people who have been denied access to basic services. I mean, when you can't read and write, when you can't go into a public facility like the welfare office and you're homeless and you can't see on the board that they're giving $250 vouchers to people if they just show up at this address down the street and they can't read that. We're living in a sad society where we have homeless, and what does one person do about the homeless? Sure, we have a few people that will join in and try to feed the homeless and share a blanket or two. I hate to see people freezing, but people do freeze to death on the streets. Could you imagine your end days being in a place where you can't help yourself? Understand me. We're living in crisis days. and understand that the shift in the narrative, meaning that fake media is real. I mean, come on now. Fake media means that anybody can take and tell a story and say, yeah, that's right. That's how it is. Because look at our president. He did all that, and he really did. But he says, you know, we need to be able to make things work as Americans because we're Americans. Got me? And if you believe in America, you need to know that I'm doing this for you, and you need to help me. So, who cares if I'm a little unconventional? Because that's what the Republicans are saying. They're saying he's a little unconventional. But guess what? When I'm looking at the failure rate of the public school system across this nation for African Americans, I'm saying, what happened with Brown versus the Board of Education? What was the maintenance of effort? What was the maintenance of effort? How do we demonstrate that all children actually have a basic opportunity to access the general curriculum? Because they don't. Because some people have fixed it, so they're not responsible for the outcomes. So when you Z-code the curriculum, you don't even know what Z-coding is, do you? Z-code means that they lower the curriculum to meet you where you are. So if you're in the 12th grade, but you're only at 5th grade level, well, they've modified the curriculum in a sense where you can access it. And then they're going to do you a favor. They're going to allow you to graduate with a certificate of completion, because California is not even going to require local schools to meet 8th grade proficiency standards. That's why they ended the requirement for the high school exit exam. There was a reason why they did that. Truly, who wants responsibility? I like my summers too. And actually, I love the summers to not have to deal with the local district and their S, because that's what it was for me. It was always something. But guess what? None of my sons were ever going to carry a letter grade of F through the year. It just wasn't going to happen. And that's why I got all this white hair. Being 60 is something. I'm mature, and guess what? I ain't going to need nobody to tell me how to find any resources because they're all online. Local, county, state, federal, United States government. We live under a republic, i.e. Republicans. We live in a democracy, i.e. everyone's supposed to be acknowledged for being individuals. And we hope to ensure that we encourage everyone from each ethnic group to participate in the communication of real services and how those services affect their community. But some people just don't do politics. They ain't doing no politics. Politics ain't my thing, girl. I ain't got no time for that. But you're going to pay some taxes. And politics are taxes. How that money comes back to your local community to support you. Go win a big old lump sum of money. And I guarantee you, you're going to pay your 24% of that lump sum money. Because if it's more than $5,000, the tax on that is 25% straight across the board. So you ain't never going to get to, if you won $1 million, it would really make a difference, even if you had to pay 24%. Let's get real. I'm not all over the place. It's just I've been everywhere. And I've been in those meetings where, I participated at the state level for, family and parent involvement. And it was called the Alliance for Community Partnerships or whatever, the Family Alliance. And I was up there with the state parents, the state people that were actually providing those services. But it wasn't no black groups providing the services. There were white women who decided to target some concerns in the community. They created their own nonprofit. Then all of a sudden they were partnering with the state and providing services. Because that's kind of how it happens. If you have a friend or someone who can help you get a contract with a state or with the county or with the city, that's where all the federal and the state jobs went. We lowered the burden of actually having to hire and give everyone access. Because now we do contracting. And we don't even have to have any equity in getting the contracts. But we do have people who understand how contractors work and understand that contractors, even I got a large contract. If I needed the data from the black community, I would hire me one black person. and then let them hire maybe 2 more, but I want that data. And if they can't do it, I'm going to find somebody who can. It's pimp factor. It's real. We have a bunch of failed public services and a whole bunch of impact from the failed public services. Young people are dying of health issues. I don't understand. It's real. Choice is real in America. And there are people that choose not to even drink water. But when we allow them to bring all these chemicals in, and there are more chemicals in foods in grocery stores than ever. And so we can't ask ourselves what's causing these children to have all these issues with their health, and because they're including all those chemicals. Chemicals have, effects. And, fast foods are full of chemicals. We don't even know what they're going to do in 10 to 20 years. But we didn't have that on us. So those of us who are pretty fairly physically fit don't have all those problems because we ate good. We ate beans and rice and the staples. We didn't eat all that fast food. And for those of us who were pretty much raised right, well, we taught our children to eat right, eat from what we knew. But that wasn't even right. And so here we are in the year of 2020. And everyone is paying attention to the impeachment hearings, I hope. Just understand that him saying that he didn't do any of those things, and we all know he did, because we could hear him say it for himself. But he said that he had to do that because, we've been like stagnant and stuck for a long time. And people can say that he just went in there and changed it regardless of the consequences. And we don't even know what the consequences are. But people better ask yourself, what happened to Toys R Us? What happened to Kmart? What happened to a lot of those Sears stores? What happened with Macy's? What happened to the huge taxi stuff? Taxi drivers. Oh, Amazon and Lyft and all these Uber. Do you think that these corporations are paying taxes? They're not charging their drivers, and the drivers are not paying those taxes. So I don't know who's paying taxes anymore, but if you win a big lump sum of money, I guarantee you're going to pay some tax on that. And when that money comes back to your local communities, based on the number of poor people that live in your community, that's how we determine, the federal support for your state. Based on the number of poor, based on the number of kids who have disabilities, based on the number of people who have certain health issues, because they negotiated the workers' comp stuff away, pre-existing conditions or whatever. But that's all money that's coming back to your local community to help provide services, to help sustain those foundational services, to help you build out and provide. And then your state is supposed to charge some state taxes. And of course, there might be some county taxes, but it's all taxes. But we're all talking about human capital because there are no big corporations in America anymore. Of course, hey, there's all these opportunities there. And the opportunities come from your inability to be so afraid of this, what's going on with the Fourth Amendment, knowing that they are paying attention to everything we do every day. And it's kind of like, I am 7 minutes away from home every time I leave home. You are 7 minutes away from home. Did I say I wanted to go home? No, I didn't. But my phone's telling me how far I'm away from home. And, and when my car is parked, I turn my phone on and it says, your car is parked on this street. Well, everybody on the net can see where my car is parked. Because I don't think there's a real way you can turn off that shit, because anytime they can tell you how many people are in your home at any time of the day by the heat signatures from the satellite. Don't kid yourself. Know that, we went digital for a reason. We used to be, analog. And then Congress approved this digital transition. Then all of the, the devices. We were all living then. If you're my age and you remember when we had to have those converter boxes, you know what I'm saying? And then everybody had those converter boxes, but you had to have the converter box just to access the basic television. But now they have all kind of devices and stuff. And, but that was so that, two-way transmission. You can see me. And, I have this program called Zoom. It's really great. I love it, but, I don't really know how it works. But the real deal is if I'm using Zoom, other people can see me and I can see them. And I think it's a great program. I think that we're moving into a direction in America where truly we can empower one another in understanding that we have to pay attention to everything that goes on around us. Paying attention to life. Simply, know that, it only takes a few people to make a decision to impact the whole community and transition different services, but you have to show up. If you don't show up, you don't know what's going on. If you don't pay attention, you don't know what's going on. And you can't keep on living in America without knowing what's going on. But know this, that many of the public school systems are failing African American children. Know that Sacramento City Unified School District was disproportional for putting the number of children in isolated special education classes for the last 10 years. And understand it affects a lot of African American males there, because the expectation is not on high achieving students. And you only get the support if you're getting it from your family or you're connected to an organization that helps to provide that support. But many of the children, their parents were in poverty, and guess what? They're barely surviving. Everything they do says they have to work every day. And they don't have time to be following up on to see if the public services are working. So if the poor people don't have time because they got to work every day to feed their children, and the people that are more affluent don't take the time because they're already in those positions, they really understand what should be happening, but our people just don't show up because they're caught up in strife, trying to make it every day. You don't know how difficult it is for a single parent to have to go to work every day and then come home and then understand that they still have to cook dinner and feed the children. And then if the children didn't get any homework, that's where most Black kids are, not getting any homework because they're not at grade level. You don't get homework when you're not at grade level. There's no expectation of you to even participate. And the letter grade of F is just fine because you don't get kicked out of public school until you're 18. And then, there's no place for you if you haven't been identified as having a disability. And then you're just out there without a diploma and without an option. But then some people who are put in special education, like a lot of the African Americans, well, they get this damn certificate of completion. That doesn't mean that you graduated high school at a proficient level. No, that means that you were below basic. And if you're below basic, then when you go to college, they do the assessments and they say, okay, well, I hate to tell you this, but you're really still you're not prepared to participate in in college. And we've gotten remedial courses. And I can't tell you how long it's going to take you, because most likely when they get to college, they still may be at 8th grade level, because the high school exit exam was only at 8th grade level. So understand me when I'm telling you that California ended its responsibility to maintain the authority over the public school system to help kids reach 8th grade level proficiency. If they can't even reach 8th grade level proficiency, and now they've decided to give certificates of completion, well, what are you going to do after 12 years of creating these wonderful environments for many teachers and families to survive? Because it's not so wonderful if you're a teacher, because you're not getting that kind of money. But believe me, the administrators in Sac City, they were getting over $109,000 a year. And then if they were married, sometimes they were getting over $250,000. But so many people got so much money over the time in Sac City, and everybody is aware. Everyone. Because you know how they choose to have their salaries? You know who's over the salary increases in Sacramento City Unified School District? Any school district in California. You know how they determine how they pay themselves? Well, hell, they do it for themselves. And then they ask your locally elected board member who just got there a year ago, or who just got there a minute ago, to approve my financial enhancement. So pretty soon, people were making so much money, hand over foot. And the money was just out of control because it moved from the oversight of the local community, because California went from Chapter 1 to Title 1. And Chapter 1, they had to have this parent, it was mandated, parent involvement. There were mandated pieces for parent involvement during Title I days. And I remember I went to case conferences, and the district was paying for those conferences, and I would take my child with me, and it would be a weekend of learning what the rules said, that we had the right to oversee and participate in the engagement of the process. And that's how I got my children through, because I understood that there were responsibilities for the public service, and they had a requirement to ensure that access actually happened for my children. My children did not graduate below grade level. My children did not carry any letter grades of F without me showing up and someone having to deal with me first to tell me, why did the F happen? Because I'm there, and I was there to ensure that my children participated in that process, to ensure that they got the skill, because we're only talking about skills. I'm talking to you today because I got some skills. And believe me, these skills didn't happen from Sac City Unified School District. My foundation came from my family. My dad was in the Air Force, and he told me that if I ever wanted to know anything, to research it first and make sure I knew what I was talking about. So my whole life has been about understanding that I had to research to ensure that access actually happened. But if you have children and they're not accessing, Maxine told me they help. You need to make a choice with your feet and find a direction in which you can go to find a program that's going to support your children. Because we cannot accept failure anymore. We are far beyond the days of accepting failure. Everything we need to know about life is on this box. We live in a box. We watch a box. We work in enclosed boxes. But it's up to you to reach out and ensure that you're educating yourself. And we have to fight for everything. Well, ask yourself, why would you have to fight for a basic education? Why can't you expect it to just happen? Because it don't happen. Because failure is an option. And so, when they're saying that, you go look at the data at the state website for Sac City Unified School District, because that's the district I do know about. And you can see all of the schools and where they're scoring. And you can see by ethnic group where they're scoring. And you can barely find schools that are holding 50% of African Americans at or above 50th percentile for reading and math. And so if you don't learn how to read and write at any grade level, if you miss the boat, meaning that you somehow got behind, and then no one bothered to help you get caught up. Pretty soon, you're so far behind that you don't get caught up. And then, I just couldn't imagine how it really worked, because I had the support of Michael Rosenberg. He was the State Disabilities Counselor for Area Board 3. And even when my oldest child was struggling, and I didn't understand why, because he was gifted in gait. He was always scoring above proficient. You couldn't see his stars because they were above the 99 and 100 and something percent. So I know my son was intelligent, but he was failing English. And I just didn't understand why. So, we had the full battery of assessments done because, as a parent, you do have the right to have a full educational assessment completed for your child if you suspect them learning differently than other children. I'll put it like that. So you can ensure that they get the access, because access is everything. And it comes out that he was very gifted. And so we decided to place him in an English class. So it was AP English. And after all of that, assessments and having the conversation and getting him in class, the teacher really wanted to know what was his real reason for coming in her class. Because she expected him to cow down to her and say, "Thank you very much, Mrs. Geiser." And she wanted him to come in after school and do all this extra buttering up for her to do her damn job. And I said, "Oh, hell no. We are not dealing with that." We didn't deal with it either. I moved him from that class, and he became an office, support staff for the office until we graduated. Understand me. I know that now that he didn't even have access to real quality services, because I saw the services that my son Tyler got. And Tyler was considered the lower achieving, they said, when we started school, because he is autistic. He was in the spectrum. or he still is in the spectrum. Let me say that because he's autistic. And social and emotional, language and development, all of, functional, executive functioning skills. Who even knows what that word is? But guess what? It's a part of learning. I had no idea what that meant. And there were so many things that he was even eligible for to have access to that I never even knew, because we didn't have to do the missions project for my children in elementary school, my older children, because I never even knew that even existed. But once I moved my son to a school that was more in a different neighborhood, I'll put it like that, than the neighborhood that I lived in, the South area, then we had all these other different requirements that we had to do. And I was grateful to move from one area of town to another area of town. Because when I had to take my son out of public schools, I had to take him and put him in a program. I pulled him out. I was willing to put him in the language pathologist speech, a CH class, that's what they call it. CH, communication handicap, because he really didn't talk. And it's supposed to be taught under the law by a language pathologist and a teacher. But sometimes you don't get the teacher. Sometimes you only get the language pathologist. And so this person that my son happened to have, one day my son came home because I knew that there were problems. I just didn't know where they were coming from. He said, "Teacher, do this, owie, hurt. And I said, "What?" I was livid. And he could see that I was livid. And he said, "Never mind. No, mommy, never mind." And I said, "Okay, we got this. We got this." I immediately called for an IEP, and we immediately moved my child, and he went into regular ed with 4 hours of RSP support. And then there were challenges there too in regular ed. He was great. He had great support in RSP, but it was the regular ed teachers who wanted to try and let him know or tell me about what the expectations were going to be of my child when he got to middle school. This one woman, she was like, he never earned her respect. But guess what? She was the one I caught her going through my son's records. And she couldn't believe that my son had moved from far below basic to above proficient in the time we were there by repeating the 2nd grade through the 6th grade. And guess what? He maintained that proficiency. He graduated above proficient. But me, as a mother of 3 young Black men, I'm a very intelligent woman, and I don't have a problem with that. But my children are very intelligent too. So here we are, living in America. This is 2020, and it's time for my people to wake up. And I am online so that we all know that the journeys that we've been involved in life, the process that we've gone through this far, has established a certain foundation in understanding who we are. And if you suffered any trials and tribulations in life, you learn from them and you establish your foundation. You don't have to repeat that mistake that you had a while back. And know that the narrative has changed. You don't have to, we're watching it. We're all paying attention to what's happening with the impeachment hearing. But let's not get it twisted. Let's look at what's happening in our local communities. Look at the poverty around us. Understand that the choices of local elected officials are affecting people in poverty and senior citizens. Because when they vote to take away the food stamps and they vote to alter your health care, and then pretty soon you're going to the doctors and you can't even afford your medicine. And you wouldn't probably have to have the medicine if you could ever afford to eat correctly. But we are just between a hard place and a hard rock. I think we don't even understand the oppression that we're living under every day because we're so busy trying to survive. I'm such in a blessed situation right now. And I don't have a problem with it. I'm living with my mama. And I don't have a problem with it. I love the fact that I'm here. And I love the fact that I can support her. And no matter how the day goes, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to love the fact that I'm here with my mother to support her because she supported me in raising my sons because I was married at one time. And, that just didn't go right because personal interests sometimes seem to just, weigh out all of the choices. Some people are so caught up in themselves, and it's not about we the family, basically. It's about me, me, me. But I learned in me, that I had to love me, me, me. So I do love myself. And I'm teaching my young men to love themselves first. And before they have children and bring them in the world, that they need to understand that they need to stand on a rock. That means standing on your understanding that you have been through some stuff and you can manage to pay the bills. You can manage to create that pathway. You have thought about this prior to having a child. Because I didn't think about anything prior to having children. I was just already caught up. And then all of a sudden it was just about, hey, gotta eat. Gotta make sure the rent's paid. I was a successful parent. I had never been homeless. I had never been without a meal. Never been without anything, really. So grateful and blessed to have my mother. Because life is what it is. And we don't get to choose. We have to live by our choices. And once you have made a choice, then definitely it is going to be a responsibility to make it through the process. You know what I'm saying? It's like we choose and then we wake up and then, hey, it doesn't matter. You got to just keep on moving forward in life. But right now, at this time in life, we all need to understand that we have a personal responsibility to look at our local communities because we're paying taxes. We are really taxpayers. And we cannot continue with this taxation without representation. We have to have real representation. People who are looking at our data to ensure that we have the same opportunities as everyone else in life. How could there be a 259% or 256%? It doesn't really matter. Go check the Nevada report card and look at the behaviors, data for African Americans and ask yourself, why is it 256% higher than any other ethnic group? Why do Black people have all of these issues of socialization, not fitting in? Well, I don't know why we would fit in the first place, because we come from a heritage that someone had entitlement. I mean, when you think about some of the things that happen to African American people, and they want you to know these things, you know what I'm saying? So you should know these things. The way they cut women from the private part all the way up and let the babies fall out so that they could tell them, if your man makes a mistake or your man tries to stop us from doing what we want to do with you, because we get to do what we want to do with you because we're the ones. So why do you think every time we turn around, there's a compliance issue? And if our child had just complied with the officer, then perhaps he wouldn't be dead today. And then understand that California only requires high school diploma level. High school exit exam, it was only 8th grade. But then they had to end that because so many people were not graduating at 8th grade levels. So people were going into law enforcement academy at the 8th grade level. But then they were deciding that they could end your life because you were on the street at the middle of the night. Probably shouldn't have been there. I mean, when they get to the point where they put ankle monitors on people and they're watching them and they get to see that in the car and they know where you are at all time, understand some of these video games are really in play here. I mean, just go and look at some of the video games, and understand that, they come out at 5 o'clock. So if you're out there roaming and you got your little tracker on, but you don't even have to have your tracker because, hey, where you at? I'll be right over here. What is that? Bruce Mobile? Where you be at? I'd be right there, man. I mean, it's kind of crazy. They can track your cell phone and they know what you're doing at all times. They can turn the microphone on. They can turn the camera on. They can follow you and they can just know everything. And what they wish they could do is get into your head to understand where you just might go before you get there. And I said, damn, you'll never know because you won't know my journey. So you don't know where I'm going to go. But I may be all over the place, but I have been all over the place in raising my children. I have been all over the place in ensuring that access actually happens. And I have been in the room when they have decided that they have appointed people in positions, and understand what this appointment means when you have an appointed person to oversee a federal managed resource that's supposed to create access. And then you have people who are figuring out how they get the most out of the deal. And they just present it to the governing board and the board approves. or your local person approves of how they, I mean, we're talking about people who have managed to create an environment to sustain themselves and not you. So yes, it's time to change America, but it's time to change America because we all have a personal responsibility to stand the F up. We really do. We have to educate ourselves. I can't educate you, but I can talk about what I've gone through in life. I can tell you, I was in the room that night that Reggie Fair presented the request to investigate CASA. And then the board actually accepting that request. And then the next morning, Jim Sweeney resigned. I was in the board meeting that night. But I had been in the board meetings forever. I had been there collecting the data, collecting the board, the minutes, and getting the printouts. So when we worked as a group to try to get the investigation about CASA, we had the information. We just got the board to agree. But then after they agreed and they accepted the investigation and Sweeney decided to retire, he spent months, a whole month, at least weeks. I know it was weeks that the shredding was out there shredding. The federal government or the state didn't come in and stop him from doing anything. He just eliminated all what he had been doing. But the documented evidence didn't change. The support, where's the maintenance of effort for African-American people in America? Less known in Sacramento, because I know that's an issue in Sacramento. But here in Las Vegas, the maintenance of effort doesn't exist either. And so, what is the maintenance of effort? It means that how they use those tax dollars, the mandated ones, to help create this sustainable foundation to ensure that access happens for people who look like you. Where's the foundation? Where's the support? We don't have it. That's what I'll say. It doesn't exist. There's nothing that I can do to ensure that life happens because I'm not in control. And I'm not trying to be in control. But instead of writing a book right away, I figured that we need to all start, understanding that we all have a role to play here. And each one of us can act on where we've come from in life and act on what we should expect as a people locally. Locally, we have a personal responsibility to wake ourselves up and know that we are totally in control. Because anytime you have the internet and, and they're going 5G, and I don't know, I think that there'll be some consequences with 5G, but who knows? But it's going to change the lay of the land one more time. Come on now. We transitioned and the newspapers started, shutting down and start getting rid of reporters and everybody started shifting online and, hey, follow me. I'm on Instagram. Hey, here I am. LinkedIn, and read my profile and, hey, this is where I've been. And I'm on YouTube, right? And we don't have all those major, they're trying to hang on to the money that they got. And so here we are in 2020, and the narrative has shifted. And anybody can have a television, anybody can have a little show. You have to learn how to use this video editing software, which is kind of, it's real, because even if you buy the editing software, it ain't letting you do what you want to do. It ain't letting you control what you want to control. It's not letting you, edit. I guess you have to buy the $1,000 program so that you can really edit and do what you need to do. Because, money creates access. Well, if you got skills, no one can stop you. Because skills transition within the family. So, you can train your children to come up to have a skill and ensure that your child is saved. And that there's actually, something created for your child. Because they got that set of skills and no one can stop them from making money. Because when you got a skill, you can make some money. But if you ain't got no skill and you can't count and you can't read, I don't know what you plan on doing. I have to ask myself, because you can't tell me this is not happening to people in our community, because we have far too many 12th graders that are credit deficient. What does credit deficient look like? Credit deficient means that we have far too many kids with 25 or less credits in high school. Because if they don't get the credit, know that social promotion is real. Because, that's the argument with the teachers union right now. Who wants to work with those children that are so far below grade level? And then what gets me is, where's the talk in the community about the failed services for the public, for African American children, especially since there are so many that are below basic. And it's just not below basic for 1 year, it's more than 5 years. But where's the maintenance of effort? There is no effort. There is no maintenance. Across this nation, there's no maintenance of effort to ensure that all children are created equally. As you know, your citizenship rights. We're all created equal. So where's the equal treatment? No equal treatment. Willful defiance. Your children have some issues of social acceptance. And somehow, because you're socially not accepted, because you don't talk like everyone else, you don't communicate effectively, and therefore, perhaps you just don't fit in. But you can't go on cussing and around your children, and then they coming into the classroom cussing like you. Can't go and do that. It's what's socially acceptable. And many of our families are coming from unsocially acceptable environments, which start the status quo, starts people to just start documenting children right away. So therein lies an issue here in Clark County, where they have a 259% suspension expulsion issues in the Black community, higher than any other ethnic group. And so how did you get that 200? Where's the disaggregated data around that? And we don't have to do that. I mean, how is it that Nevada, the state of Nevada, does not require local school districts to disaggregate the data at the local site to ensure that families understand the situations that they're placing their children in? Because if your school site can't adequately provide support for you, why would you want to put your child over there? See, the public information means that you can go online and supposedly look at the school site to determine if they have the quality, of service that might sustain your child. But if you go there and then they're not providing the information, then it's kind of like fraud. That's what fraud is. You know what I'm saying? But I consider it fraud when there's no accountability and measures, no maintenance of effort, and no requirement for the maintenance of effort from the state level. And there are people that go to vacation in Europe during the summers, and then there's choice, but then there's mandated professional development under IDEA 2004. That if you're going to work with children with disabilities, that you're required to, that your staff be trained and to understand how to create access for those children. And that part of the training is part of the mandated requirement for the federal dollars. But when you're allowed to just collect the data and say, they didn't try. Well, what should we think about that? Why are we paying taxes if we can't have the same expectation as everyone else? What is the purpose? Someone needs to helping me with what's going on, trying to understand. Truly, because it's unthinkable that we have 8-year-olds who commit suicide, who are little African American girls. I remember when I was 8, but I wasn't thinking about killing myself. And even when I was in school, and the educators thought that perhaps, I had an educational issue, and because I talked with a lisp. And I don't remember what that was, but I do remember that I learned that Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers that Peter Piper picked? And see, my lips moved the whole time. And I did that seashells too. And I know that, the work that happened with me one-on-one with other, I got to work with an individual one-on-one until I got over that list. And so that was the expectation that I had for my children during the special education IEP meetings or whatever that I had. And believe me, when I said that, special education, it's a Burger King. That's why I see it, because it's what you actually need, not actually what they're serving up. So you have a right to access education in a manner that best allows you the support you need. You know what I'm saying? and that you have a right to come back and have a meeting every 2 to 3 months if you can't measure the benefit of the maintenance. You know, it really is just like you're sowing seed for your harvest, for your future, because that's the harvest you reap when you invested time and effort in your children, and you can see that they have the ability to be sustained or self-sustainable. But when you're allowing people to control the maintenance of effort and denying you the access to have a voice and the oversight and the maintenance of those services, then I have to ask you where we live in, because it looks like, the president's behavior is just really a reflection of what's going on in America locally, when we have to deny that African Americans truly have access, because they don't. So many do not. If you're expecting, the services somehow just, happen, it doesn't. It's not something that just happens. You don't get an education just because you take your kid to school. What you do is you get a report about the child's behavior. And then if you start getting too many reports, understand that the only offer of free and appropriate public education that you will get is a behavior modification, because they're not required to provide that academic one unless you understand you have a right to have that academic one, that you have a right to measure the maintenance of effort, that you should be there seeing them. I mean, this raising children is really, it's really like, tending to, a harvest. And after time, you hope to reap the benefit. But understand, just because we're tending to the harvest doesn't mean that we actually are in control of the crop. For Black Americans, we don't control any of the services that actually come into our community. We are not the decision makers as to how the services happen. So we have children who have no credits, and we have no way to share a concern. I have filed so many complaints from me personally, for my own children, but I have filed as the education chair for the Justice Reform Coalition, and I have filed as just a citizen to share a concern that there are far too many high schoolers with less credits. And when all of the old alternative programs are managed by the overseer, there's really little or no room for improvement, because no one is assessing children where they are. And so when they I didn't know this, but what I found out is that Sacramento City Unified School District has a contract with the Department of Juvenile Justice, juvenile hall, that if your child gets arrested and they're in high school, that they are taken directly to jail, and Sac City disenrolls that student, and they become the responsibility of, juvenile hall immediately. Soon as you get arrested, soon as they put you in juvenile hall, you drop off the roll sheet. That's probably happening in every district locally in Sacramento. And hell, because I never even knew what was going on. I mean, soon as but what's worse is they have the SRO officers who are on contract with the local schools, getting part of that Title I money and putting our children away. Because how is it that they could be so involved in creating an arrest for an incident for a student that happened in September, and then right before the student turned 18 in December, the SRO officer came to the classroom and arrested the student for an issue that supposedly happened in September, and from a student who was special ed to a student who was special ed. And it's obviously a miscommunication, because they're both in the spectrum, they're both considered intellectually disabled and autistic, but then somehow somebody strong-armed somebody. That's what I was told. But anyway, I really didn't understand how it happened that the SRO officer and that the school site never contacted the parent or myself. Because, we've been participating in the IEP of this student since he entered into the 9th grade. So here it is, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 4 years later. He made no progress the whole time. Zero. There was nothing that we could measure the benefit. We had IEP meetings, but every IEP meeting was met with teachers who gave reports who said the student was unwilling to try. Not that we even started where the student could access the curriculum. It's just that the student was unwilling to try. And then I saw it was just a pattern. So the pattern is that even if you have an IEP and special ed happens, because you do not have a starting point initially, because you get there and you're not at grade level. And I was very aware that the student was at 5th grade level when we got there. even if he had made it to fifth grade. I can't say he had. Because, see, a lot of the services are based on nothing. Because the offer of faith is just the curriculum, but the student has no way to access the curriculum. See, because they're basing the number of prison beds based on the number of kids who cannot read at third grade. So if you're not reading at third grade level, you're still not reading at third grade level in the 12th grade because no one helped you. There's no maintenance of effort to ensure that you had even access. So, if they can give you a letter grade of F and promote you to the next year, why should they change? They're going to get paid anyway. They're getting paid, and our kids are going to prison. They're getting paid, and our kids are going to jail. They're getting paid, and they're killing our kids in the street. Why is it that we, the people, do not have a voice in what's happening for local communities across this nation? I'm an American citizen. I would hope that you see yourself as an American citizen. What is the value of an American citizen in this conversation? As a citizen, I'm attempted to file a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights for the people. I put it, I think that there are ways that they can limit your access to certain things, your posts and everything. They can limit your access to who actually has access to your posts. The control is not for you. The control is for them. I'm not trying to, they say, I always knew that a revolution would not be televised. It's an awakening that had to happen in me. It was something that I didn't understand what was going on, truly. But know this, I still don't understand what's going on. I don't understand how children could be required to attend a public service and the service not benefit them. And then when you question the failure of the services, the people just act like you, and they don't have a problem telling you, this conversation is above my pay grade, and I'm getting ready to end the conversation. How you like that? I've had a lot of conversations like that here in Clark County, Las Vegas, Nevada. And if this represents America, and I believe it does, because it's just like, hey, this is the Wild Wild West. And if you understand in the Wild Wild West, everything about the Wild Wild West and the old time America, and bringing back what we used to do is about the oppression of someone in America. Someone's being oppressed. Don't think that, we created these jobs out of fresh air. No, we changed how the food stamps were going to be allocated. And then people start getting food boxes, but I wasn't on the end to create the food box. It wasn't my contract. I didn't create a contract to create food boxes, but somebody got a contract. That means that somebody was busy putting little apples in little bags and chopping the apples and putting 6 slices and then selling it. That's how it goes to the school site. Don't you know that so many schools are, the foundation of the schools have to do with contractors, local contractors. And how do they get contracts? Well, I guess there's a process, but I don't think anybody's mentoring you and I through it. And I don't know if I ever even wanted to go through the mentorship probably. I wanted to know what was actually happening consistently about, to ensure access was happening for my children. I could actually measure the benefit of them actually being in the public school system. I wanted to make sure that my children could read. My children are avid readers. Although I'm not. I'm a reader. I read for investigation. I'm an investigative reader. I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I know exactly how to find it on the internet. And that's how I was able to be successful raising my sons. And this, I was on the internet earlier this evening, and I was talking about some things, some reasons why this time in my life that I really just woke up. And so, listening to these young rap artists, Old Town Road, Nipsey Hussle, and there are a couple other, rap artists and R. Kelly. He has a song, but then something made me look into R. Kelly a little bit further and understand that he's been out for a long time and people love his music and the young people are attracted to him. And then all this stuff happened around this woman who's writing a book on his ass, and she's promoting her book. And I'm saying, damn, she didn't got in there with him and laid up for 3 weeks and said, oh no, this is so dysfunctional. Let me get involved and call these people's parents because, they shouldn't be doing all this, whatever, over here. Because, hey, if you like orgies, orgies happen. I never got involved in an orgy, but there are a lot of people that do that kind of stuff in America. And it's all over the internet. And it's all over, the movies. So, young people think that's something that they should do or could do. And they're doing it. But, having the ability to get involved with R. Kelly, he's famous. But I didn't know he didn't have a record label controlling him and determining what he could and couldn't say. He did what he wanted to do. And, they don't like that. They don't like people who do what they want to do. They don't like people who can communicate and engage. They don't like people who can wake up the public. Because, there's a reason why they killed King. There's a reason why they killed Malcolm. There's a reason why people die every day. And if they can make it look like an accident or make it look like a health issue, Dr. Sebi went away. So did, gosh, people just, hey, let's understand that this is America. And America got here not by being honest, not by being, we got here to this point simply because we were engaged in advocacy and ensuring that our voices were heard and ensuring that access happened. But once we established the foundation, we just assumed that somehow the foundation would just stay. It would just stay. But it didn't. People have been working hard to get rid of everything that we've ever had access to. And so, it's time for us to all wake up and re-engage in the process and know that, it's time. There's nothing I can do to say that 256% of willful defiance issues for one segment of the population means that the plantation never ended for that segment of the population, especially if that segment of the population happened to be the enslaved people in America. I don't know how you get 259% willful defiance issues or suspension rates for African Americans in one community. And I don't know how that looks when you're the 6th largest school district in the nation. So it's what you do. And then you have this, compact about we the people, and you don't follow any federal guidance. And now the governor is trying to put together some commissions of, of good people, do right people, to be in positions. But then the people who are supposed to know the rules and implement the rules don't know the rules. They've been doing whatever they wanted to do. So when people tell you that, the conversation you want to have is above their pay grade, and perhaps I should talk to the board or the superintendent. And I understand that the superintendent was elected, but the board was, the superintendent was hired, and the only employee of the governing board is the superintendent. So here in Clark County in May, they rescinded the responsibility to govern the superintendent. They just said that they weren't going to do that. We weren't going to hold them accountable for the disaggregated data. Then I want to know where that data is going to be coming from. Local control means locally your public is engaged and has access to hold you accountable. But when you try to have a conversation with someone and they don't want to talk to you, it's a real thing. It's a real thing when you want to have a conversation about the maintenance of effort for public education. And what are they doing with all those 6th graders who are not reading at grade level? Let's just take a blanket statement and say, what do you do for 6th graders who are not reading at grade level? And how are you implementing that at the local school? See, that's what local control means. It means that we're going to allow you to operate your schools as you allow other parents to participate in the process. And everybody has a right. And we're going to let everybody in. But then you turn around and you don't enforce it. You don't enforce the public process. You don't hold people accountable for the failed services. And you allow people to fail miserably. But they don't just fail for the first 12 years. No, they failed for like 30 something years. And then about 35 or 40, people wake up and say, wait, where have I been? It's kind of like the Matrix. My sister said, and understand, just the Matrix. Go watch the movie again. Understand that some folks stole that woman's movie. A black writer wrote the movie. And somebody who wasn't black produced it and made the movie, and she had to take him to court and sue him. And she won. She won. But it was really talking about where we are today. And how if you start really waking up, then people work towards to, silence you. And with this internet stuff, know this. Internet don't play. And your devices can be disabled. And if you don't know how to get them back online, it's an issue. Or if you don't have money to rebuy. I remember one time we were in the struggle, meaning that they were trying to shut my laptop down. And I just got tired of it because, I'd go in the BIOS and reset the BIOS and all kind of stuff. It was just real. The war was on. And so I decided I was going to go buy another laptop. And I had money on my credit card at Best Buy. That's why I don't have a credit card at Best Buy right now. And they shut my account down. The day that they shut my laptop down was the same day they shut my account down. And then I was going to have my mom come in there and charge it for me. So she didn't have another credit card. And then they shut her account down too. So that told me, listen, this is not a game. This is real life. And we're at war. We're at war and we don't even know it. In Sacramento, I filed a complaint with the police department, whatever their internal affairs. And know this, we were out there in Citrus Heights, and my mom had a Cadillac Catera. And they shut that car down in the middle of the intersection. And then I tried to call the police, or try to call, because the car broke down. Try to call AAA. My goddamn phone wouldn't get online. Let me tell you, when people think that they're gods and they think that they can let you know they're controlling shit, they ain't running nothing here. Because as long as God lets me wake up in the morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to share my concerns. My concerns are about what everybody should be concerned about, and that's the failure of the nation to educate the African American child. And that failure comes with willful defiance. It comes with an issue of compliance when they're killing our people in the streets. We need to get better at advocacy. We all need to stand up, but as long as you have a voice, that's the gift that you were given. You have to learn how to use it. That's real. And so in learning how to use my voice, I know that I have shared information, just general information, all the time. But I have had enough. Because there is no oversight for the public dollar here in Clark County. There's just a lot of money. There's just so much money when they can put people on Regency and bring Black African American artists in, and they brought the Raiders here. And I would say, for the people who come here and you have some basic skills, hey, it's ready and rocking. You know what I'm saying? But for people who expect to have a child here and you're in poverty, the services are not demonstrating that they're effectively teaching children in poverty here. So you just become a part of the harvest. And they have a mountain out here where they put people chilling out there. Not my children, but hey. I mean, I can't even say that I understand what's going on simply because we do have access to tech. But if you don't learn how to complete assignments, you can't get through high school. And if you're not getting through high school, you're not getting permission to participate in society, because the certificate of completion doesn't allow you to just come into, a job. You're not ready. And if you can't read at grade level when you graduate, then you're not ready to participate in society. You have to know how to communicate effectively. You have to understand that you have to understand how the system works. It's your personal responsibility. It's no one else's responsibility to tell you how the game goes. It's your personal responsibility to figure it out. That's where we live, in a country that says, you should have known. Didn't you read the fine print? Fine print is everything. Well, I didn't want to talk about we should be paying attention to 5G. We should be paying attention to the rules changing around, is your video, appropriate for children? Because, you can be punished if you have a video and it's, new, whatever, violates this, whatever, children. I didn't read the bill, but I probably should spend some time reading the bill. But know this, that They can change your access of your programs and actually disable your programs. They can disable your computer so it can't get online with the service that you paid for. I mean, when you pay $300 to your service provider, you would expect that all your devices can access the internet through that portal, right? Not always, not if they've been given the authority to say, oh, you've been downloading some movies, even if you didn't download the movies, because all people can access your modem if you don't secure it. So I had to buy a whole new router to secure the modem because it was their modem. And I could, and I had, don't buy Netgear, I guess. Just don't buy Netgear because the password on Netgear is the same for everyone. I mean, the clear password, whatever. And other people can access your stuff and download stuff, and then you could be blamed for it because they put a warning on you and try to come after you and disable your devices. Even if, I asked them, I said, if you think or believe that I was downloading movies, I said, give me the MAC addresses of those devices so I can check them against the devices that are coming up in my, dialogue, my log for my new router. Do you think they responded to me? Hell no, they didn't. They didn't have to. Because they're gods behind the wall. The network administrators are gods. It's just like, why does Trump have to follow any rules? Because he's the president. He's the new god. He's the king. He sets the rules. He set a whole new where America was coming from. He's changed America because he was elected. So he was elected to bring the change that he felt needed to happen in America. Although, he's been so gifted. I mean, he's so cunning. He's filed bankruptcy all that time. I mean, bankruptcy, hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars just filed. Just don't have to pay it. Come on now. He understands how to get around the rules. We've allowed him to get around the rules because he knew the game, how to become a millionaire, how to game the system. That's who Trump is. And he's going to game the system again because people feel that he's making things happen. I don't think they're looking at the thing down the road, further down the road. Further down the road tells me that if he's created jobs by giving contracts to contractors to provide services to public people, and then he's failing them, it's not working. How is it that we have so many homeless? What about the homeless vets? Is anybody looking outside? Anybody see the big part of town where larger cities where they have so many homeless because homeless people are looking for resources and they have none in the rural areas? They just have a lot of drugs. I mean, people just have a lot of hardship in the rural areas. So here we are. This event log, I'm going to open up this event log because I want to copy it. Everything here. Command C. And put it right here. Command V, I'll probably get kicked out. And enter it. Now. So anyways, I don't know why I was having these errors while I'm talking. Because, hey, I don't know what's going on. Perhaps, people don't understand that you do need to pay attention to what's really going on in life. That's your personal responsibility. We don't have another responsibility in life except for to be awakened and live the best life we can. Don't put off what you can do today off until tomorrow. Because, Snoop said he's living his best life. He ain't got time to deal with you. I mean, he talks about his song and smile, B, smile, B. He's living his best life. He just talks about everything that he's accomplished in life and where he's been. And we're all partying to it, downloading the music, celebrating. But it ain't for all of us. It's not for everyone. This is a time that we need to wake up as a people. And that's just real. Because it is our personal responsibility. And that's real too. And so, what can I say? That's what I'll say. I can't say a whole lot. I can say a whole lot and it really doesn't matter. Because we are the people. We're the one you're looking for to get involved or get engaged. You're just who you're looking for. Don't think that there's going to be someone that's going to step out in front and just, show you the way. You have to really be willing to understand that your life can end tomorrow. And if you choose not to do what you can do today and put it off until tomorrow, then it's over. You've not documented that you can give anything, because we're only asking you to give of yourself, give of your knowledge, act on your level of knowledge, and get engaged in what you know how to do, which is look at data, analyze it, and ensure that access is happening for people who look like you as a people. Find out where the team is playing and participate on the team. This ability for the system to create all of this chaos in our community by giving a few dollars to this person and a little bit of money over here and appointing this person to this committee and appointing that person to this committee. And none of these people who have this money or who've been appointed to a committee have to really share with you what's going on or create an opportunity for you to have access. They may create access for their family members, but it ain't about you. Money is not everything. Knowledge is power. Educate yourself and then look around and then ask yourself what's going on. Accept the personal responsibility to ensure that access is happening for the people who look like you. That's what I can ask, because I personally am nobody. I am a single mother who happened to make some choices that were really not good and raised my children, divorced my husband. He was abusive, but understood that I didn't have to stay in an abusive situation. And actually, my ex was married 2 or 3 times after me, and then winded up marrying somebody who was just my son's age, a couple of years older than my son. And apparently she did have no allegiance to him when he got an injury. And his stress level went from off the charts, and he had a stroke and died. But he made that choice, and that's just real. And so I, on the other hand, had a commitment to my sons and ensuring that access actually happened for them. It was important for me to ensure that they had a foundation and had the basic level skills to survive in America, and to understand that they need to slow down enough to pay attention to what's happening around them. And they have open hearts and they're really giving. So I have no fear that, they won't be able to be self-sufficient in the future. What I concern myself is that, that we have a foundation that's going to support our grandchildren, should we have them. And that's only going to happen if we choose to step up as a people. And stepping up as a people means something. It means that you, human, are responsible for what you're paying to ensure that happens to sustain health and welfare of everyone. So if you're working and you're employed, you got a job, you're paying your taxes. And if you're making a lot of money, you're paying a lot of taxes. And if you're making so much money, hand over foot, you're not paying any taxes at all. You're figuring out how you're not having to pay those taxes and how you're not having to, but you're getting lobbyists and lobbyers to go participate at the level of oversight. In the local community, people don't ever show up, especially the ones who need all these extra services. It's real, extra services, because you need them, because you're an American citizen, and because we provide these services. We just provide the services anyway. And, that's what America's about. But then when we get someone in the White House who wants to bring about a change, we need to understand what change we're really talking about. What is the oversight? What is the maintenance of effort? What is the opportunity to access a quality life after 12 years of being in the public structure? Is it really happening for our children? It's not. So the area that we're sustaining as a people or as a population is the prison system. And we need to stop that. We don't need to employ more prison guards. We need to have more people that are using their brains to ensure that, we create the opportunities to stop the floodings of local cities when it rains too much, because we have to deal with climate change. You know what I'm saying? We have to deal with so many things that we're not dealing with in life. And we don't even have the people who have the ability to say, whoa, wait a minute, let's slow our roll. You know, they had all those fires in California. But, you know, we had an opportunity to kind of like work in the Department of Forestry and ensure that we were taking down, you know, the fire hazards to, you know, lessen the opportunity of out of control fires. Well, where's the work? Where's the maintenance of effort? Somebody help me with this. It's not about a Democrat or a Republican government. It's about an American government, a government that looks out for the people. The government actually gave me my right to have this voice. And I'm going to ensure that I utilize it wisely. So here we are. Know that I understand I have the Fourth Amendment right to be here and share my concerns with my public. And know that no one has the right to take away my right to share. And so I'm going to sign off. I don't know. If I don't go to bed late, I'm going to get back on here because I've been on here 1 hour and 20 minutes. And I'm going to see if I can save the video and upload it and save it for myself, because maybe I won't be able to, but maybe I will be able to. And then I haven't gotten to the point where I got a program to edit, but I'm going to get to a program to edit so that I can put a snippet of whatever that came across my mind at the moment and share with my people. Because, you know, I really do. That song, Loving My People, I love that song. There are so many songs that were inspirational to us as a people. And now there are so many songs that are degenerate, that you know, have children thinking that perhaps it's okay behavior to do certain things, and it's not okay. It's just not okay. We have to teach a better, higher standard of life, quality living. That's what we have to teach. And that's our personal responsibility. Everybody who has breath in their body has a responsibility to shape the, you know, the quality of life for the least of us. That's what I'm looking for. An arm of the willing. That's what I'm looking for. But the only way we check ourselves is to hold the system accountable and share the video. Share it. I'm going to make sure I save it so you can share it. I'm going to end the live video for a moment. Y'all have a great evening. Good night. For a minute, anyway.